Welcome to Grateful Gwen Goodreads channel, where we are currently reading from The Art of Being, Recapturing the Self by Catherine Laroze. Childhood. We can easily imagine the dawn of a new world unless it is the dawn of a new life. The sun rises with its pale light, leaves whisper in the trees, insects dance, new scents blossom, thoughts still sputter as the mind stirs, and innumerable questions overflow, all into this universe in which we are born. Our five senses are not enough to capture all of the emergent signals, sounds, and sensations that fuse together to press against the consciousness of a person awakening to the world. It's a constant discovery of each moment, an exploration of the world's abundance, and the incessant movement of nature, of beings, and of the surrounding space. A child feels like the son of the universe when the human world leaves him alone. Gaston Bachelard. So, the antennae perk up, the ear is still freshly receptive to the softest sounds, the tongue discovers unknown flavors, the hands marvel at the velvety touch of a peach, or at the bite of a rose bush, and learn to hesitate before touching the thorns. The nose fills up with the scent of a rose and becomes more refined when it plunges into a bunch of mint leaves. Everything a child sees, infinitely big or infinitely small, seems to spin a web of curiosity for him. A simple flower, an insect's tracks, a cloud with a shape interesting enough to capture his attention, all of these sensory stimulations allow him to break into a world where reality and his imagination work together, a universe from which he will emerge curious, enriched. The slightest thing causes the consciousness to unfold for a child. A ripple in the water, paint peeling on a wall. So many little things seize the imagination, things that will be stored and added to the child's bank of knowledge. It takes time for all these impressions to be organized, defining the contours of a surrounding landscape that has not yet finished revealing its mysteries. Weeks, months, years are needed before all that he has perceived makes sense and becomes part of the bigger picture. It takes not only time, but space as well. Space for desires to blossom, for arms to open wide, for the body to dance, for movements to flow, for the child to find an intimate harmony. It takes space for a spirit to take off, to go beyond the boundaries of the horizon, to attack the highest mountains, to be engulfed by the depths of the seas. An internal space is needed as well as an external space, and these two poles mingle until they can no longer be differentiated. But calmness is still essential, silence and peace, so that all of these events, from the least significant to the most formidable, can take their proper place, so that beyond the noise, the tenderness of the world can be sensed, so that silence can develop into music, and so that words themselves can give way to the eloquent whispers of the heart. This space, time, and silence belong to us. We possess them. They are engraved in the deepest part of us, as if they are part of our very framework. We have experienced them time and time again, and we can even, with a little effort, remember when they first revealed themselves to us. Remember when, having clawed your way to the top of a tree, you marveled at the surrounding countryside, or when you realized the presence of time inevitable in the wrinkles of a grandparent's face, or when the silence of a sacred place allowed you to find your way into the peace of the world. Childhood is an opening, a beginning. It's a time to sense, to perceive, to be welcomed. The smallest details become engraved in your consciousness, even the seemingly insignificant events. The silhouette of a loved one, the intonation of her voice, the softness of a pillow beneath your cheek, the cold touch of your metal bed frame, the smell of a gravel path in the early morning, the smell of a horse coming in from a walk, Facial expressions, certain gestures, the weight of a word, a conversation, everything. Childhood absorbs everything without discrimination. It keeps, it stores, it stocks all of these minute details. Only later will inventory be taken. Childhood is a time of internalization. Who knows better than a child how to slip back into the dreams within, into the imaginary world that he has created? Who knows better than a child how to remove himself from a difficult reality, to find a better world, forgetting his surroundings completely? A child does not exist for the exterior world. He is there, we can see him, but he doesn't always answer when we call. Maybe he is absorbed in some small task, a book, or he is in the middle of carefully constructing something. Maybe he is contemplating the path of ants coming from and going toward a rock. Or he is dreaming, collapsed in the grass, his chin resting on his arms. Or maybe he is sitting on the edge of a low wall, his legs dangling, with an absorbed look on his face, inventing a different life. This game allows a child access to the depths of his being. Thanks to it, he can explore the meanderings and labyrinths of the spirit. He can throw pebbles to the bottom of his well to see how deep it is. He analyzes the night in order to pierce its secrets. He goes beyond the mirror. He discovers the hidden meanings behind smiles, the troubles that haunt the beings around him. He sees others' true colors beneath their masks. And so, childhood rings out. Always pushing forward, a child knows the richness of silence. He knows that at the heart of dreams, in the shadows, certain voices make themselves heard. A child is rarely a rambler. He knows the harm that words can do. But he also knows their magical powers and charms. The stories he invents are bridges linking reality and his imaginary worlds. During all this time, a child comes into his own. He builds himself little by little, becoming enriched, absorbing everything. Before growing up in the world, he grows up within himself. What does he do to accomplish all this? Nothing. He does nothing. Yet we can see that his existence is one of abundance, growth, flourishing. And here we are thinking that we have lost our keenness, insight, and sensitivity somewhere along the road. Those things that at one time made us feel we were being reborn every day. We blame the weight of everyday life, the responsibilities and obligations that encumber us. Little by little, we think our spirit has deadened. Enthusiasm, curiosity, and boldness have been replaced by brooding, moderation, and fearfulness. Our period of enchantment and discovery has become a lost paradise. Gone is the child's land of haloed light, grace, no worries, innocence, and freshness. A blessed time for everyone. A blessed time for everyone, a place for blooming of consciousness and all the senses. All this has been lost. An idealized childhood is a time of sensations, feelings, sensuality. It's a time to venture and to open up, where each second gives birth to a new impression within you, outside of you. It's a time to escape, thanks to the power of imagination, from your duties and obligations. It's a time of development, construction, and discovery. We believe this period to be past, finished, and definitively lost. In idealizing it, we have made it inaccessible. We view this period half compassionately, half condescendingly. Since then, we have advanced. We have overcome obstacles, crossed rivers. We have experienced metamorphosis. We can barely recognize ourselves. But have we really changed that much? What about the fits of incessant laughter that we still sometimes have? Or those black moods that seem to throw us out of our own bodies? The feelings of intense frustration that bring us down? Those sudden urges to close up within our shells, or the times when we stare aimlessly into space? Childhood continues in 1,000 different ways within us. Our childhood past inspire the present, underpin our reactions, guide our choices, saturate our thoughts, direct our desires. All this despite ourselves, without us really being aware of its influence. Sometimes it's the joyful child within us who is speaking. Another time it's the angry child who expresses himself, sometimes even the bored child who yawns. Thus, childhood is never really over. What we must do is draw out the little things from our childhood, the tiniest things that serve to support reverie and provide food for the imagination. Seated on a step in the warmth of the June sun, chin resting on knees, you look at the small space between your feet. Of course you are doing nothing, strictly nothing, but back in a time and a place since lost, you are experiencing, without doubt, one of the greatest feelings of expansion possible. This childhood that exists within you gives you a chance to seize a living force, intact and unchanged in its expression. We should look upon childhood with the utmost kindness. This childishness is not at all ridiculous or reprehensible. It is an expression simultaneously of insanity and wisdom. Allowing your childhood to live within you as an adult is, in effect, the sign of a spirit that is not completely willing to let itself be pulled into the exhausting whirlwind of adult life. This is why we need to listen to the childhood that lives inside us. This part of us that continues to marvel, to pay attention, to be free. Instead of repressing it, constraining it, or worse, denying it, we should, on the contrary, give it room and welcome it as a precious new beginning, a time of learning. In this way, we can secure a new manner of being, master the art of doing nothing, and free the circulation of our juices of life and energy. To do this is to refuse to close your eyes, to put your hands over your ears, or to close your mouth. To do this is to keep the doors to your body and soul wide open. To do this is to let unfold a field of possibilities. Thank you for joining us here today during this reading, and the next section of The Art of Being is titled Eclipse, and we will save that one for the next time. Until then, take care and open your mind, body, heart, and soul to the possibilities.